need one of those for church business meeting.
They do work.
Welcome, everybody. Wow, that seems loud. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you all here. It's good for me to be back. I got to play a little golf in Myrtle Beach while I was down there. 55 degrees and a 20-mile-an-hour wind. Thanks to Michael Brockton for covering bases last week. I really appreciate it. I understand he didn't embarrass himself too much, which is just enough. Congratulations to those honored at the Capital District mid-year in Arlington 2 weeks ago, distinguished Club President Clark Goodman and Lieutenant Governor Don Witt. We're very sad to hear the passing of Heath Thomas. Y'all remember Heath Thomas passed away. His obituary is in the paper today, and I believe there is a card for his family that will begin circulating. We had a marvelous time at Mill Mountain Theater last Thursday night. Larry, he's not even paying attention. What? It's just like being at home talking to my wife. Nobody listens. What'd you say? Larry, thank you. We had a wonderful time. Thank you, and thank the Fund Committee, and thank Mill Mountain Theater, and thank Amy Carter. Food was fantastic. We'll look forward to the next one. Today, oh, and one more word on John Bradshaw. We had word from Rupert just a few minutes ago that he's recovering nicely. He's been transferred to Friendship South, which I think is on Starkey Road, right? If you want to go see him, he's doing well, recovering nicely. So he's hanging on. Today, the call for introspection will be Preston Tyler. Song leader will be Bill Bestovich, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be Jackie Bledsoe. So if we could queue up, thank you.
Good afternoon to all, and good afternoon. Y'all know I'm a pastor. Y'all got to talk. I thought about when I was young, and I always think about my youth, my past, and the people who have influenced me. I think back to when I was first learning how to drive a car, and I could automatic, I had it, but standard shift, I just couldn't get it together. But my dad's best friend took me out to his farm in Greene County, and he had me drive his pickup truck. We went all around the farm, and I got it, I had it, you know. He said, all right, I want you to go down the hill, and then I want you to come up. Uh-oh. So after about 3 tries, I kept going back, He grabbed me, took his hand, and put his hand down, said, take my hand. I took it by the hand, and he said, it's gonna be all right. Calm down, take your time. We're gonna get through this together. I said all that to say this. After that, I got it. But if you put your hand in your neighbor's hand, we can do things together, and we can do it better.
Amen.
So I'm not Judy Clark. If you've looked at your agenda, actually Judy filled in for me 2 weeks ago when I was supposed to be here and couldn't make it. So I'm filling in for her, so to speak. And she's decided we should sing "Let There Be Peace on Earth," and boy, don't we need it. So Judy, let there be peace. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God our Creator, children all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Please join me in the pledge to the greatest nation on earth. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Bert Boyd will be introducing our guests today. Bert?
Afternoon, everyone. You know, as part of my requirement, I have to introduce guests, so I want to do that checklist. But I want to encourage all of you to also do the same thing. I was talking to a guy I've known for a couple of years and just found out that he was a fellow Kiwanian, and he's going to join me in a few weeks to come back. And I believe he said he was a former president, Bill Seberg. Anybody remember him?
Perhaps another.
Perhaps.
Another.
My responsibility today, though, is to introduce our guest, Prather and Laureline Lanier, guest of our speaker today. And our speaker is Mr. David Jones. With Prather and Lanier, Laureline, thank you for joining us. Also, Laurice Taylor, spouse of J.C. Law, is with us today. J.C. Law. J.C. Taylor. I got a J.C. Law in my lifetime. Sorry. Thank you, Taylor. And I'm going to move out the way so we can move on to the next. Thank you, guests.
I guess you might be aware that Pancakes has kicked off and Ricky Bobby and
Bobby Ricky.
I'm sorry. I know your mother got around. I can't remember. And Michael Brocta. Thank you.
Steph.
So as much as I wanted to avoid this moment, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Stephanie and Mike, and they're going to entertain you with a short presentation.
All right, so pit crew, how are you guys doing today? All right, let's try that again. How you doing today? I can see what you had to do with on the invitation. So, all right, so if you did not see the Daytona race, it was really close. We had a great run for our first week. Little trivia question here, maybe somebody can answer this. When was the first Daytona 500 run? What year? Close. It's actually 59, believe it or not. They were running them on the beach for a while, but the first one on the track was 59. Anybody know who won that first one? It was a Petty.
George Sanders.
You got to come up with the first name on the Petty because there's been quite a few of them. No, Lee Petty. Yeah, he was the kind of patriarch of the Petty family, so he won that first one. And then unfortunately, he was really severely injured in a race like 2 years later, and that was kind of the end of his racing career. But I had a bunch of sons and grandsons who continued racing. So come here, Stephanie, get over. All right, so if you did not have a chance to see the race, I think it's running at like 3:30 a.m. on ESPN8 or on the Kiwanis Sports Network because they have no other program. So we're going to do the individual drivers first, and then we have a short video to talk about the team totals and our total for the week. So let's go here. All right, so top drivers. A little picture from when they used to run this on the sand at Daytona. All right, tied for 5th place, the Hartmans. And in 4th place, Wiley veteran Ken Briggs. Do you see this? Yeah, give Ken a round of applause. Did you see that 203? Yeah, he was thinking. He figured a lot of people turned in 200. He did 203. Very good. You can tell he's done this before.
Was it this year's tickets or last year's tickets?
Yeah, Ben's asking, hey Ken, Ben's asking if this was this year's tickets or last year's tickets. So, all right, tied for 2nd. Gary Durick and Steve McGraw at 350 each. Gary, where are you? I knew you were over here. Steve, you here today?
Steve is here. Number 2.
All right, and our top driver for the week who gets to walk the Champions Walk at the Daytona 500.
Here it comes.
You ready?
Okay, ready.
JC Taylor. JC, you get to walk as the top driver for the week. Awesome.
For the week.
Yeah. But he edged out Steve just by, I think he bumped Steve into the wall and then kind of, went in.
Got a spin out there.
That's for you, Steve.
There you go. There you go. All right. We're going to show you a quick video with the team totals and
one more slide.
oh yeah, I do one more slide, but with the team totals and the number turned in for the week. While Mike's going to change that, I'm just going to finish this out and just let you. Next week we're going to be down in Franklin County at the Franklin County Speedway. So that's next week's race. You got to have your money in by 3 o'clock Tuesday if you want to win that one. No moonshine in the cars or the drivers. All right. All right. So Stephanie, tell them about some of the rules while Mike's queuing up the video.
Okay. We're going to remind you again of the rules that you have. For those of you all who don't have your tickets, we need you to get with your team captains. If you don't know who your team captains are or is, guess who do? We do. So get with me or Mike, and we will be glad to share that information. And also a reminder, the tickets are not $5.
They aren't.
No, don't sell your tickets for $5 unless you want to put in some more money. The tickets are $7, but you can give them 8 for $50. So remember, try to push that 8 if you want to. They get one free. If you go there for just $1, they pick up the 8th ticket for $1. And also tickets, the money needs to be turned in by Tuesday prior to our Wednesday meeting. By 3 o'clock over at American National Bank on Colonial and 419. If you cannot get there, contact me and I'm gonna put him on the spot, contact John Montgomery as well. And we'll be glad to take your money in so that you can get in the running, because we don't want you all to have a spin out and get left in the dust. So you may be the winner, or at least your car may be the team that you're on.
You got it.
Okay.
All right. Mike, show us that video.
Mike, okay, show it.
So each week, if you'll indulge me, I'll play a short video, different video each week, and it's going to reveal the team standings. Let's start with this week's video. All right, hold on.
Well, there you go.
Oh, that's anticlimactic. All right, turn up the sound. I hope it's going to be loud. Intimidators.
All right. All right, so the Intimidators are in the lead, and that's Kevin Reeder's the crew chief on that. I don't think, is Kevin here today? I don't think so.
He's selling tickets.
He's selling, good man.
I saw him this morning.
Anybody from the Intimidators want to come up? Come on up, Gary. You earned it. We have a trophy for you to share with the team.
There you go.
Now, notice Stephanie and I, we made that small, easy to carry, so it's easy to get around the team. So nothing big, keep it small. And that's our team total for the first week. And not that we're bragging, but that's about $900 better than this time last year. Wow. So we're off to a great start. So good job, you guys.
Good job.
All right, so get out there and sell those tickets.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to come back to the microphone, and there was a question asked of me when I stood here last week. Question asked of me that stayed with me all week, and I thought I'd address that today. Jim, could you come up for a minute? Jim, I thought I was being inspirational last week when I was up here, but apparently not, because at the end of my talk, you shouted out from the room as loudly as you probably could a certain question. Would you stand in front of the microphone and shout that question out again?
All right, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Once and for all, what the hell is a QR code?
Jim, I want you to stand next to me now. And we're going to attempt to address this demographic and answer that question. It's a challenge. This is a K-pad ticket.
Where's the QR? Oh, there.
On each K-pad ticket, there's a graphical symbol called a QR code. QR code. If you don't know what a QR code is, ask your child or grandchild. And what they will do, let's see, we need to see this on the screen. Let me see. In the
Yep, we're connected.
You know, this would have been so much better if it weren't as planned.
If it were TikTok, Mike.
So the way this works is your son or grandson holds their camera up to the QR code. It automatically takes them to the Kiwanis website where we have a K-pad page. You know, when you're out selling tickets, one of the things you can do this year that you've never been able to do is tell the customer to look up the K-pad page on our website. That's the best I can do. Thank you.
Andy Stone brought forward another reminder. Remember that you can make your charitable contribution for K-pad of $250 as a pass-through to the foundation. $250 member, $250 minimum, write your check to the foundation and say that it's for K-pad, and we'll pass it through. Is that right, Andy? There you go. Before we get started on our announcements, Clark Goodman, would you come forward, please? As I said earlier during our, come around here. As I said earlier, one of the recognitions that happened in Arlington at the regional conference was that once again, the Roanoke Club was recognized as a distinguished club.
Thank you, man. Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Speech.
Thank you very much. I'm very humbled by this, and I tell you, it was really you guys that make this club distinguished. So you all, as Ricky Bobby would say, you all rock. Thank you.
Mountain Dew for everybody. Ricky Bobby also said that second place is just the first loser. Oh, announcements. I need to do announcements. Reminding everybody, Kids Fishing Day is the 22nd of April. There should be some information on your table to sign up for that. It's a fun day. To do that, we'll be doing it again in conjunction with Orvis, who is helping sponsor that. And again, we'll be at the pond at Hope Tree in Salem. The Interfaith Prayer Breakfast tickets are now available. I believe they were out in the reception area. They're $8 a piece. If you need tickets, JC, Ken Briggs, Sherry Hartman, Bruce Swanson, anybody else got a handful of tickets? We'll be in the lobby after the meeting to get your tickets, $8 a piece. Again, the prayer breakfast is May 4th. It will be at the Kazem Temple this year. Begins at 6:45. It'll be a great day. KPAD leadership meets immediately following this meeting next week. It doesn't say that here. Yes, it does. I'm sorry. I'm dyslexic. What can I say? Next week at 1:35, the KPAD committee meets. We do have 7 minutes for brag box. If anybody has got a brag, please come forward.
Oh, you've got plenty of all 7 minutes.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bruce Swanson, and I'm going to take advantage of 7 minutes. So I'll take a deep breath. So really, most of this is for Lois James' benefit because you weren't here last week, and our team was, missing you. So I stood up and made a few comments. It'll never be the same. Our team is still struggling, but thank you for being here this week. So it piqued my interest, and I noticed the Franklin County Speedway, was a big splash today. So I asked the person who I always turn to when I want to ask about local history, and I said to JC Taylor in the men's room, I said, tell me about the Franklin County Speedway. And he said, it was a great place to be like 25 years ago. I think that's what you told me. Yeah. Or more recently, I'm not sure. So then at the Mill Mountain Theater event, I was visiting with John and his lovely wife, Joyce. And I said, I'm really curious about the Franklin County Speedway. And Joyce reaffirmed today that she dated John for 3 years, every Saturday, as he worked at the Franklin County Speedway. 3 years, and he finally got the courage to ask her to marry him. So this brag buck is for Joyce's persistence. It's amazing. So I went to the website for the Franklin County Speedway last weekend, and their season opener was Saturday. And I had made sort of a glib remark about, the Miata group, Don Witt, myself, Michael Proctor, being in the vintage car race. Well, guess what? Saturday was vintage car racing day at the Franklin County Speedway. My wife said I had too many things to do at home, so I couldn't go. But I'm going to refer this to the fund committee because I think we should all go to the Franklin County Speedway as soon as possible. And the last thing is I did try the QR code, but it erased all the data on my phone. So, but that's strictly a joke. It did not really do that. So, all right, great. Thank you all.
Steve McGraw with multiple brags. First of all, Mike McAvoy. Who was it that put Lee Petty into the wall on the third turn, Daytona 500, which ended his career in racing, driving? Junior Johnson. Guess what? 2 years later, a young man named Richard Petty put Junior Johnson into the wall on the third turn at Daytona. Speaking of racing, Whitey Taylor owns that racetrack that J.C. Taylor loves so much. Okay?
I hope you're paying good money.
So I'm paying good money. Trixie's over here muttering, you can't hear him, but Whitey Taylor, I met out at the trunk store recently when I was buying some political paraphernalia for friends of mine in Doones Mill, and he approached me and wanted to know who is this young lady's name on the side of your car that you're supporting to take your place as circuit court clerk. And I said, well, that's Rhonda Perdue, but you would know her as Rhonda Dean because her dad used to race at your track all the time. From that moment forward, Whitey Taylor has been an enormous supporter of Rhonda Perdue. Please raise your hand. And Whitey is behind you, you can't lose. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm John Montgomery and feel compelled to defend my honor after that out of the blue reference that Bruce Swanson made. I was really hanging on what Bruce said at the beginning. And he noted that JC said 25 years ago was really a happening place, not realizing that the next segue would follow immediately, that John Montgomery worked there. And that might be why it was such a good place. I'm just saying, JC. But in fact, I should tell you that I've had quite I want to be modest here. I've been the president of a company that dissolved, and I left the company and decided to make a living as a freelance writer. First person to call me was Whitey Taylor, and I took that job and had it every Saturday night for 30 weeks a summer, and spring and fall for 3 years. And I did start dating Joyce during that period. And in fact, our courtship, Saturday night courtship, was pretty special, if I do say so myself. But the end of the story is that although Whitey paid me in cash at the end of the race, my income the first year, or the second and third, was considerably less than president of the company. And so, to no one's surprise, I was audited by the IRS. I'd also become a speechwriter for the mayor of Roanoke at the same time, David Bowers, which brought me into Kiwanis. Another brag, another time. But the people who were auditing said, let me get this straight. You work for the mayor of Roanoke and for Whitey Taylor? I said, I sure did at the same time.
I'm here to help out Jim, because he was up here with Michael Brockton over at QRK, trying to explain it. And somebody said, Mike, what does QR stand for? And in his typical Michael Brockton, he avoided the question and sat down. Well, I'm here to tell you, Mike, it stands for quick response, which you did.
Good job.
Joyce, I can tell you, my wife sympathizes with you. We dated for 6 years. And been married for 47, and she said it's 4 or 5 of the best years of her life. J.C. Taylor, would you like to introduce our speaker?
I will.
Thank you.
I will.
Good afternoon to you all again. Before I introduce the speaker, I'm going to make, this is something that some of you probably remember. When I was president, this is for Heath Thomas, the last check. When I was president, I'm sad to hear the passing of Heath Thomas. When I was president, this guy sat on the front seat. And every time I said something that sounded like I was bragging on somebody, he would $2. So I'm sure I spent thousands of dollars in brag bucks just because of Heath Thomas. This guy was that, but anyway, last buck for Heath, and we're gonna miss him. Now the speaker for the day. Thank you. The speaker for the day, his resume is extremely long. And I no way in the world I would try to do it because you wouldn't get to hear him. So what I'm going to do is just say a few things about Dr. David Jones. Dr. David Onez Jones was born in Highland Park, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit. Married to the former, here it is then, former Georgiana Taylor. My niece, that's what brings him in the family. Born David, married in 1980. They have a son named David, a daughter named Latoya, a granddaughter that they're just crazy about. He was licensed to preach in 1999. In 2012, he was installed as the second pastor of Williams Memorial Baptist Church in Roanoke. Every Sunday morning, he's on radio, WTOY at 8:30 with the topic of think on these things. I'm briefing this. Dr. Jones earned his associate degree in divinity at the Mid-Atlantic Theological Seminary. He has a Bachelor of Ministry, a Master of Biblical Studies from Jacksonville Theological Seminary. He has a Master of Divinity, magna cum laude, and a Doctor of Ministry from the Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology at Virginia Union University in Richmond. Dr. Jones did a sermon called 40 Acres and a Mule. It was published in the summer of 2004 in the issue of African American Pulpit. Another sermon, I'm Sending You, is published in the United States Library of Congress collection of sermons. He's very active in political, he's active in the communities. He's involved in several community groups, including the Community Peace Initiative. In October 2021, some of you may have gone to Roanoke College. He gave a lecture on faith and freedom. And in September 22, he did another lecture there on Christian nationalism, also at Roanoke College. Dr. Jones is currently teaching a course at Roanoke College called Liberating Theologies. Dr. Jones loves to read. He's an accomplished artist. He loves classical music, jazz, R&B, pop, and gospel music. He's very interested in what's going on. Very open-minded. He enjoys science fiction movies also. But above all this other things that he's involved in, he loves to preach and teach the gospel. That's his first love. Ladies and gentlemen, get your dictionaries out and get ready for my friend, nephew, Dr. David Jones.
Good afternoon, everybody. What a pleasure it is to be here, and I certainly want to extend my heartfelt appreciation to the Kiwanis Club for inviting me to come and share with you this afternoon. I've been here before a couple of times. This is my third time speaking at a Kiwanis event, and certainly want to thank Uncle JC, hardest working realtor in Roanoke. for inviting me and $2. He'll take care of it for me. But I've really enjoyed myself today. It's so good to look out and see so many people that I know and recognize throughout the community, and just a pleasure to be back after this extended period of pandemic. It's good to be able to come out and fellowship with everybody once again. I hope that this opening back up continues unabated as we move forward. It seems that we have things a little bit more under control. Coronavirus is not going away, but we've learned how to navigate it and manage it. And so we are thankful for that. I just kind of regret I don't have a Ricky Bobby reference this afternoon. Nevertheless, I'll be prepared next time. As I remarked the last time that I was here, I'm a Baptist preacher. I always feel the need to center my thoughts on a text. And today is no different. Not going to preach, but I do center my thoughts on a text. Allow me to read from Eugene Peterson's The Message paraphrase of Psalm 133 and verse 1. He renders it in this way. How wonderful, how beautiful when brothers and sisters get along. So once again, in preacherly fashion, I want to title my talk, Building Beloved Community in Roanoke. The last time I spoke to you back in 2021, I talked about troublemakers at the table. It was my conviction that if any progress is to be made toward unity and real progress in the city of Roanoke, we must invite those who represent contrary and perhaps even controversial opinions to the table of discussion and decision-making. My thoughts were grounded in the belief that if there's to be a culture of inclusivity in our beloved city, then we must make sure, no matter how uncomfortable or messy the process may be, we must make sure that everybody's voice is heard. The citizens of this beautiful community, or any community for that matter, will never accept any program, policy, or initiative if they are not made to feel a part of the process. Doesn't matter if the project is beneficial, there's a natural human tendency to push back against that which has the appearance of being shoved down their throat, so to speak. It also matters if, in the opinion of the people who wield political and economic power, that the project or policy is beneficial, but they fail to communicate exactly how the stated project will benefit the community and who will benefit the project other than the people who actually have to live with the project. Then there'll likely be no consensus among the citizens whose tax dollars will ultimately fund the project. Now, I'm sure you're asking, what does all this have to do with building beloved community? I'm glad you asked. First of all, I may need to define what I mean by beloved community. The term was first coined by the American idealist philosopher Josiah Royce, who died back in 1916. It was a year before my own father was born. Royce's philosophical explorations are far too esoteric to discuss here in this context. But a fundamental conclusion of his was that whatever theoretical or metaphysical concepts that one conceived of or considered, there must be a practical, concrete application of those concepts in the real world. And perhaps his most famous theoretical idea was that of the beloved community. Now, most of us have probably never heard of Josiah Royce, but we have heard of the beloved community. That's because of the enduring influence of the person who popularized the phrase, that is, of course, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Here's an explanation or description of beloved community that you can see if you visit the Martin Luther King Memorial down in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm quoting from the big wall that they've got there with this quote on there. The beloved community is a realistic vision of an achievable society, one in which problems and conflicts exist, but are resolved peacefully and without bitterness. In the beloved community, caring and compassion, not money or political expediency, but caring and compassion drive political policies that support the worldwide elimination of poverty and hunger and all forms of bigotry and violence. The beloved community is a state of heart and mind, a spirit of hope and goodwill that transcends all boundaries and barriers and embraces all of creation. At its core, the beloved community is an engine of reconciliation. This way of living seems a long way from the kind of world we have now, but I do believe it is a goal that can be accomplished through courage and determination, and through education and training, if enough people are willing to make the necessary commitment. End quote. Wow, that's a whole lot in that one little paragraph. I don't necessarily mean that it's a lot in terms of the amount of information in the description. It's a lot in terms of the level of difficulty. We've heard that phrase before, level of difficulty. It's used in athletic competitions like high diving and gymnastics. The level of difficulty is always the highest when the athlete attempts something that has never been done before, or they add a new twist to what has been done before. The athlete has studied those who have gone before them. They build on what they themselves have attempted before. They do not necessarily reinvent the wheel, so to speak, but they do create a better wheel. They use all of their training and all of their imagination, all of their creativity, all of their physical and mental strength to accomplish what previous generations of athletes assumed was impossible. And by doing so, they inspire the next generation of athletes to push the envelope even further. And that is what will be required of us to build the beloved community here in the Roanoke Valley. We need not reinvent the wheel of societal and political change. That work has been done before. It's been done to varying degrees of success. It's been done with the expected opposition that always accompanies change. It's been done in spite of the lack of thoroughgoing cooperation from all segments of our society, even by those who agree that the change is necessary. It's been done in the face of apathy, suspicion, and even downright meanness, but it has been done. But the work is unfinished and therefore ongoing. Now remember what I said about Josiah Royce's underlying philosophy. He thought that any theoretical concept could actually manifest itself in some very practical ways. So Dr. King took Royce's concept of the beloved community and sought to make it a reality in America. And I think perhaps America is an idea that is still struggling to be born. Perhaps America is not necessarily an end unto itself, but America is a process with the beloved community as its goal. And King did not attempt this in the most ideal conditions. He did not choose the path of least resistance. King sought to make the beloved community a reality in the Deep South. He began in Montgomery, Alabama, the most segregated city in the South. He also tried it in Chicago because resistance to progress is not limited to any geographical area. It is not limited to North or South, and resistance to progress in Roanoke will not be limited to Northwest, Northeast, Southwest, or Southeast. Resistance to progress will not be limited to Roanoke City or Roanoke County. It will not be limited to Salem, Botetourt, Benton, or anywhere else in the Roanoke metropolitan statistical area. And while I'm at it, I need to mention that the whole quadrant system is somewhat problematic for me. I heard recently that it originated as a function of the postal system. Therefore, it did have some practical logistical value. But I also understand that most cities also have these kind of designations. But in many ways, these designations have a way of becoming something of a label in terms of our mental perception. And they're usually negative perceptions. Now, I'm not advocating that we get rid of the designations. As I noted, they can indeed be useful. In the same way, I'm not in favor of a colorblind society. We need to take those things into account when we consider the historical inequities that impact some demographics and not others. I advocate a color and culturally appreciative society. I think that's a better way to go, and I think it reflects God's creativity. In the same way, I long to see a time when our geographic locations do not instill negative perceptions. I wish that each quadrant would indeed elicit more positive emotions because of their unique atmosphere, their unique architecture, their unique culinary offerings and unique histories. But to do that, and here's the hard part, to do that, we will have to ensure that every area of this city and every citizen has the necessary resources, infrastructure, amenities, and expectations of services and security that every other area of the city has. Psalm 133 speaks of the blessings that run from the top of the head down to the beard, down to the collar of Aaron's priestly garments. That conveys to me the notion that whatever leadership a community has also has the responsibility to get the blessings to those over whom they've been given responsibility. That means all of us in this room to one degree or another. Now, Psalm 133 describes a theocratic government. I don't think the Psalm's necessarily endorsing trickle-down economics either. In our society, though, authority and responsibility comes from the people. That's you and I. And it's been my experience that the most impactful and lasting changes usually come from grassroots efforts. Now, if we combine these dynamics, top down and bottom up, where the needs of the community dictate public policy, we combine those. We understand that beloved community can only be achieved when the collective will of the people is recognized and implemented by whatever political processes we choose to employ, by whatever organizations are involved in that kind of work, like the Kiwanis Club. In other words, people and local government should never be reduced to a purely adversarial relationship. And I'm not here to bash city government. That's not my purpose today. I bash the federal government in my sermons on Sunday morning. But I genuinely desire, as I believe all of you in here do, to see a partnership between all elements in our society. I want to see faith leaders and faith communities fully engaged in the work of building the life of the entire city. I want to see public and private entities working together to raise the level of life in all of its dimensions. I want to see taxpayers, the tax exempt, and tax recipients working in concert to achieve equity throughout our community. We should never be able to conceive of a city versus citizen situation because the citizens are the city. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Our ability to reach unity in diversity will be the beauty and the test of our civilization." Roanoke has become one of the most diverse cities in the Commonwealth and even in the United States. According to one source that I looked at recently, Roanoke has a diversity score of 85 out of 100. That's high. That to me is the strength of this city and not a liability. America is actually becoming more like Roanoke. That's a good thing. Martin Luther King said, and this quote can be found on the webpage of Points of Diversity, but he said, "An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity." Someone else has expressed this by saying that nothing will change until the people who are not affected by a particular problem are as outraged as the people who are. I have seen this actually start to happen right here in Roanoke. In fact, it's been happening for a while now. My church has hosted several community forums regarding Evans Springs, just to mention something that's on the mind of a lot of people recently. There have been people in attendance who do not live in any of the neighborhoods that will be affected if that place really is developed. And that's a good thing. City of Arlington, Texas has created a unity council. The council consists of 28 members divided into subcommittees in order to, and I'm quoting here from their website, to gather community input, research best practices, and recommend strategies that the city of Arlington could implement to promote and encourage greater equity and to advance unity across our community, end quote. The Unity Council released a 132-page comprehensive report that focused on 5 areas of concern: economic disparities, education and workforce training, housing, health and wellness, and policing and criminal justice. It's well worth reading. You ought to check it out. We could use something like that here in Roanoke, I think. Now, remember what I said earlier about not having to reinvent the wheel. We've had separate groups and initiatives looking into all of these issues right here in our own community. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all of these efforts could be streamlined and coordinated with one another and operate in some comprehensive way to more effectively meet the needs of the citizens of the Star City? Everywhere I go, people are always talking about there's too much repetition of effort, too many people doing the same thing at the same time in different places. And therefore we divide all of our resources and our creativity and our ideas and our strength, and not enough gets done. We have folk who have been doing this kind of work for years. There's the NAACP and Plowshares for Peace, Points of Diversity and the Voices of Faith, social justice advocates, peacemakers, the Community Peace Initiative that was started recently by Rabbi Cohen, Equal Justice Initiative. Many of our area colleges and universities have joined the effort to not only acknowledge but rectify past wrongs. Roanoke College has established the Center for the Study of Structures of Race. They're working with the Roanoke Reparations Group, to which I belong, to host a conference this weekend, and you're invited. It's free of charge. It's at Wortman Ballroom in the Colquette Center. But it's we've invited Dr. Michael Neighbors of Evanston, Illinois, and he'll be showing us what faith-based reparations really mean. It doesn't mean individuals getting a check. And also explains how faith communities can work with local government and other institutions to repent from and then repair the systemic inequities in our society. As I prepare to close, some of you may question what I read earlier when Dr. King suggested that the beloved community was a realistic vision of an achievable society. I had to read that twice myself, but Dr. King wasn't being idealistic, although I have no problem with idealism. Dr. King really believed that we could get it done. I do too. He also said the beloved community was a place where difference of opinion and even conflict exist. But the beloved community is a place where such disagreements are handled in a way that promotes respect and precludes violence. I'd like to think that doesn't just mean physical violence, but also verbal and political and economic and social violence as well. I'm going to close with this quote from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who was an ally of Dr. King and a true champion of social justice in his own right. Rabbi Heschel said, "In an open society, not all are guilty, but all are responsible." If there is to be beloved community in the Roanoke Valley, all of us must be responsible. And if we all become responsible citizens, then how wonderful and how beautiful this city will be when we all learn to dwell together in unity. Thank you.
Thank you
you very much.
Very powerful. Today, it's our tradition here that we always provide an honorarium for our speaker. Today, the honorarium goes to the NAACP. Thank you very much. Where is the card? It's finished. Dan Shitwood has it. Great. Thank you.
It's good to have Dan Chitwood here.
It is. It's great to have Dan Chitwood here. We're wrapping up just a few minutes early. Next week, we'll have Ken Fay with Roanoke County, the Director of Real Estate Valuations. J.C. Taylor will be doing the introduction. And if there's nothing more for the good of the cause, I declare we're adjourned.
Done. Thank you, Dave. Powerful.